the new latest version of our divorce TV show. And we've got a great show for you today. I've got a special guest who's going to talk about theta healing and changing the way our subconscious works, and you'll be amazed how useful that can be when you're going through a divorce. We end with a healing session using EFT, better known as tapping, and we'll also got the divorce masterclass happening. But right now it's time for in the divorce news for this week, we've got Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, who are doing really well. They are being cordial, apparently. Allegedly, back in November, they were having a few issues, which some of us will recognise, as she was very upset about how her life had been turned upside down. And allegedly, she was using the children as weapons and making it hard for him to have contact. But apparently, despite the fact they've got a massive mansion in France that they've got to split and all those complications with the finances, they seem to have decided to not let the co-parenting get spoiled because of that. So that's really good news. So well done, Brad and Angelina, for sorting that out. The next story I wanted to talk about was there's a lot in the papers, of course, about can you get divorced during lockdown? And of course, there's a couple of reasons why you probably shouldn't wait just because of lockdown. For a start, we don't know how long we're going to be going in and out of the situation. And if you're really, really unhappy together and that's affecting the children, there's certainly no reason why you should sort of wait. Also, there's a big fear, of course, around the finances, because it could be that we're going to have some real economic issues, that the house that you think is worth one amount might not be. But again, waiting probably isn't the best idea. It's better to make your plans based on the numbers right now. But I would suggest that you work with a financial planner who does long-term cash flow forecasting, and do factor in that by the time you come to finish the divorce and to perhaps sell the property if that's necessary, make sure that you have allowed for the fact that there may be a slight difference in the amount, or someone might not have the job they thought they had. So it may sound a bit grim, but there's no point having a settlement that you're not going to actually be able to use. So it's best to be pragmatic about this, and financial planners are very helpful with that. And our final news story today is our Prime Minister, Boris Johnson. Apparently he's the first Prime Minister in 250 years to get divorced whilst in office, which is quite surprising when you consider how many people get divorced. That all seems to have gone very smoothly, so well done, Mr. Johnson. Now we're going to move forward to speak with our expert of the week, who is Debbie Talalay. First of all, I'm going to show you a little video of her talking about divorce, and then I'm going to bring her into the studio via Skype. So get ready.
How do you feel? Do you feel rejected, useless, worthless, frumpy, redundant, unwanted? And is it seeping into all the other areas of your life? So many different things come to the surface when a person divorces. First of all, are they the one that's divorcing the other, or are they being divorced? Because the pain is different. If you are divorcing the other, you might feel guilt. You might feel worry about how your ex is going to fare. You might feel upset about having to share the children. If they are divorcing you, then you may well feel worthless, rejected, redundant, not wanted anymore. There's no use for you anymore. Often a sense of failure, not being good enough, not being successful enough, not being bright enough or interesting enough. That's a big one, not being interesting enough. And feelings that you just want to crawl into a hole and forget everything and everyone. The one thing I'd like to say about divorce is, have you actually broken your vows? It's all very well getting your decree, but have you broken your vows? Because I know people, I've come across people who are still interacting with each other way after they've separated and divorced. If you are going to divorce, make sure that you have nullified the vows you made to each other. Theta isn't magic, but it can look like it. It's very fast, it's very profound. It gets to the bits that other things can't reach, and it happens instantly. And if you are likely to reinstate what I have removed, I look for the reasons why you should, so we can eliminate those as well. Released from all the things that kept you down before, so you're buoyant. You're ready to re-engage. You're ready to see that, yeah, you might have contributed to this, but those reasons are beginning to fade now, and you can get on with it, and you can make a new start for yourself. And the big one here is, you're not going to make the same mistakes again. Excited, ready for a new start. All the things that you hadn't been able to do before, and now you can.
And now, welcome to the real life Debbie. Great, welcome. Thank you so much for coming to join us on the show today. You did an amazing healing last week, which was beautiful. But now you're here as our expert because we want to find out more about how theta healing works. There was a lovely introduction there in the video where we listened to you describing it in relation to divorce. But you've got an interesting background. You're a homeopath, you're a spiritual healer, you've done NLP, you're experienced in many modalities, and I know that you've embraced theta healing and used it to create your own healing method called the Stanford technique. Isn't that right?
Stanford healing method, yes. So, yes, what is theta healing? Well, theta healing is the fastest, easiest and most effective way I've found in over 30 years as a healer to eliminate your fears, anxieties, low confidence, self-sabotage and negativity. It's an energy healing, which means that there's no medicine involved and very little physical contact. And it works by rerouting the brain so that you can't hang on to your phobias, addictions and destructive thinking anymore. And when that happens, you arrive at a much more positive outcome. You're always conscious and part of the conversation. You're not off with the fairies with this. So theta healing is astonishingly powerful, and the best thing is that you can't fail because I do it for you. It's fast, it's easy, and it works. And people ask me, how's it used? Who does it work for? Well, it works for everybody in every situation, but I'll give you a few examples. There's this young lad who had managed to fail every single exam for senior school. His mother was on the phone distraught. She said he's failed absolutely everything, and the one we want is in 2 weeks, and it's highly academic. What are you going to do? How are we going to do this? And I had an hour with him, and we discovered that what had happened was that the school had told him that he should be staying on, and his parents had told him that he should be going to this new school, and he didn't know who to please. So what he did was he just butted out. Now, this wasn't conscious, it was his unconscious mind. He didn't know what he was doing. He thought he was just failing everything. Well, we dealt with that, and a couple of weeks later he did the exam, and then I got a phone call from the mother who said he passed, he's in to this very competitive school, and to this day he's doing extremely well. And here's another example. A lady who I've been treating for some time, she has a house in the Scilly Isles, and she and her husband and children love going out on the sea in a sailing boat. And it was a beautiful day, and the sun was shining, and out of nowhere came a storm, came a huge wave which capsized the boat, and they all ended up in the sea. Well, I think she must have hit her head on something, because no one could see her, and eventually her son saw her just bobbing underneath the surface and managed to haul her out. Of course, she was deeply traumatized. We did a lot of theta on the trauma that she'd endured, and on the physical problems as well. But some months later, she said to me, you know, Debbie, I don't want to do the mental and emotional stuff. I want you to fix my circulation. So I said, what's wrong with it? And she said, well, every time I sit down, my legs go numb, and it's painful and very, very cold. So I said, well, are you sure? this hasn't got to do with your accident. She said, no, I don't think so. I think it's a pinched nerve or something. So we checked in with her unconscious mind. And it was to do with her accident. What had happened was that she thought that she should have died, and that the angel of death was right behind her, chasing her. And so as long as she kept moving, she was okay. But when she stopped moving, then the angel of death could catch up. Well, we dealt with that. Just a few seconds. And she sat there while I was talking to her and said, you know, I've had to take my shoes off because my feet are too hot. Anyway, I've developed theta healing in several ways. I clean up your energy and I put you back in touch with your soul and the creator. It's not religion in any way, but everything works very much better when you're connected. So I'll give you another example. This lovely man came to see me. He was in his late 60s. He'd had a wonderful career as a BBC investigative journalist with Reuters. And I suddenly realized that he had spent 25 years in Afghanistan. And I said, you know, you were there for 25 years. Are you okay? And he said, oh, yes. I've been to see someone. It's all done with. So I said, well, would it be okay if we checked it out? And he said, okay. So we did, with his unconscious mind, and he wasn't okay at all. He was highly traumatized. He was deeply distressed. And it had been lying there, festering under the surface for years. Well, we dealt with it as we could in the 40 minutes that was left of his session. And he came back the following time and he said, I feel so much better. I feel as though something that, a burden, a weight that I didn't even know I was carrying has been lifted from me. And he said, and my relationships are better because I'm not as defensive. Now, here's somebody who didn't even know that he was still holding on to his trauma. And of course, you don't have to have been in a war zone to have PTSD. You can have it from your marriage, from being abused by another person. The good thing is that most of us don't have PTSD. The good thing is also that we can do something about it if we do. The not so good thing is that we have got to look in our unconscious minds and see what it's holding. And that's where I come in. I work one-to-one, either in person or by Zoom or Skype, with people all over the world. But I really wanted to enable as many people as possible to have access to theta. And I wanted to provide this at a fraction of the cost of having a one-to-one session with me. And I discovered that I was able, through the way I work with the videos, to get the power of theta healing to each person watching a video. It is as if you are sitting in the room with me. So I created a series of online videos, each video on a theme. Poverty and abundance, which deals with the many reasons why we don't allow ourselves enough. And I remember one client keeping himself on the breadline because he didn't want to pay any alimony. Success and failure. One woman doubled her business in a year after that video. I'm not good enough. This video helps remove low confidence. I fear rejection. So many people feel unwanted and won't put themselves forward. And this is a close cousin to I'm redundant, which is excellent for people who have lost their jobs or lost their relationships or who are empty nesters. Power, which we give away too easily and allow ourselves to be bullied. I'm a woman. We think of ourselves as liberated, but are carrying centuries of brainwashing. And last but not least, weight loss and all the reasons and excuses we have for not doing it. Now, Susie's going to show you a QR code later, which will enable you to go to my site and sign up for a series of free videos that will explain theta healing in more depth and how to test for what's going on in your unconscious mind. For a limited time only, I will be giving to each person who signs up for the free videos a voucher for one of the theta healing videos of your choice as my gift. And the theta healing videos are normally sold for £57 each. But I would really like you to experience the amazing and spectacularly fast power of theta healing. If you're worrying about money after your divorce, the poverty and abundance video might be good for you. If you've been in an abusive relationship, maybe the power video. So please use the QR code, sign up for the free videos, and then choose your gift so that you can experience for yourself peace of mind and release from anxiety through theta healing. Thank you, Susie.
Thank you, Debbie. That was fantastic. And as Debbie said, I will be showing you the QR code in the wrap up. Get your phones ready and you'll be able to access those videos. And I've met people who have used them and had fantastic results with them. So yeah, make the most of it. Right, we're going to move forward now to the learning part of the show. So we're going to have a little bit of an excerpt now, very briefly, from the Divorce Masterclass. Now, I am keeping open this class. You can see there's a QR code that here, and I'll pop it up again a bit later. And there's a whole section in there on preparing for the voyage. So if any of you are particularly at the early stages, please make use of it. You can go in, register and get access to that whole section as all part of the preview, so you don't have to buy it, but do make use of it because there's some really important and useful information in there. The little excerpt I'm going to do today is we're going to talk about what I call releasing the anchor stage. Now, this comes up all the time when I'm doing divorce strategy sessions. In fact, just this week I was working with a lovely lady and we went through all the practical stuff and the different options. But when it comes to how are you coping, that's the bit where people go a little bit quiet. And I think particularly women and also the men, we have a big issue here. We tend to think, well, the emotional and psychological part, that's just something, we'll just have to sort that out later. We don't have time for that now. But in fact, the truth is you really, really need to sort that out. Sort that out right at the beginning. And the reason you need to do that is it's that emotional and psychological baggage that you're carrying is like it's like an anchor chain pulling you back. If you go into, for example, a mediation session, and with the best will in the world, if you're feeling afraid and angry and scared, you are not going to be at your best. In fact, you could blow the whole thing. So before you charge in to doing all the practical stuff, you really do need to stop and take care of yourself and make sure that you're going to make sure that you are dealing with those aspects. And as we've already heard, you've got so many things in what I call the divorce first aid toolbox. You've got theta healing, you're going to experience tapping EFT at the end of the show. And what's vital is that you keep your head straight. You need to stay emotionally and mentally strong through this time, particularly if you've got children. That is not done with a stiff upper lip. This is done by nurturing and caring for yourself. But also you've got to be really realistic about it. So it's going to help your co-parenting, and it's certainly going to help the whole way that you progress through the divorce. So I want to end with 3 things to think about. Now remember, I'm just giving you ideas here. This is not technical advice. It's up to you what you do with it. But the first one is don't confuse despair with depression. A lot of people get very, very sad in divorce and they may rush off to the doctors and ask to take be given some pills. Now, if you're in a really bad state and you're suicidal, obviously you do what the medical profession suggests. But quite a lot of the time people are resorting to either pharmaceuticals or alcohol or other substances just to numb themselves because they feel in such emotional pain. So my suggestion is that rather than do that, you find yourself a really good healing modality to try, experiment with, see what works for you. Also divorce coaching, working with a psychotherapist, these are all areas that you can try. And if you go to the alternativedivorcedirectory.co.uk or .com in the US, you will be able to access free initial sessions with a wide range of healing experts. The second thing to do is to take care of yourself, take a holistic approach, and particularly you mummies out there, it is not selfish to look after yourself. You owe it to yourself to look after yourself. I remember I was terrible at that, and I nearly killed myself, in fact, by pushing myself so hard and not taking time to give myself a bit of love and care. So I'm giving you permission to do that right now. And lastly, Learn how to visualize a positive future. I cannot tell you how many times I say to people, it's 5 years on, where are you now? What are you doing? And they just glaze over because nobody's asked them that for a long time, and they're so caught up in the divorce and family breakup situation. So take time to visualize and to dream and to hope, and that's again where coaching can be a very powerful aid. And if you find you're really stuck and you just can't seem to be able to do that, that's probably because you do have some kind of deeper block, and that's something like theta and something like EFT can help with. Right, now we're going to move on to one of my favourite parts of the programme. It's the shared stories. Coming up now.
When you decided to have a child, it was about what was important for that child. So just because you've separated from your ex or your husband or your partner, you've still got to keep the child's interest at heart. It's tough being a single mum with kids who don't ever see their father. I think you just have to accept that whatever's happened in the relationship has happened. Shit happens to the best of people. My name's Sue Patel. And I'm the mum of Pia Patel. She's 11. Professionally, I'm a HR consultant, running my own business, helping small businesses to love their employees so they don't leave them.
Is an amicable or friendly breakup really possible?
For me, yes it is. So my partner and I are going through a separation now, and we've had a discussion around where we're at. We've both decided that, we can't be together, but there's no reason why we can't be separate but together. We've both agreed that we're always going to be family for each other, and that we're not going to abandon each other. We've got a daughter, and actually I think we're in a place where we love each other and respect each other more now than what we did in the last kind of couple of years when we were together. So definitely.
What advice do you give to people who are about to go through a separation and they've got children and all those emotions running high? What kind of things can you tell them to help them keep it sweet and not get nasty?
Okay. So a couple of things that I would say is that one, when you decided to have a child, it was about what was important for that child. So just because you've separated from your ex or your husband or your partner, you've still got to keep the child's interest at heart. For me, I don't want my daughter growing up without her dad, and I don't want her dad to be in a place where he can't see his child. For me, it's about keeping the family together. I would, put your differences aside and actually build an amicable relationship so that you can both share the parenting. A lot of women make it difficult for themselves by holding on to their children and not letting them go. And see their dads, and you're doing yourself no favours, because it's tough. It's tough being a single mum with kids who don't ever see their father. So don't make it difficult for yourself. Just keep it really simple.
Are you able to give any advice for people where they aren't getting on at all well with their ex? I'm not talking about abusive relationships or anything, but there's a lot of anger. Maybe they've got a new partner or something. Again, is just putting the children first enough, or have you got any kind of tips that you could give?
I think you just have to accept that whatever's happened in the relationship has happened. Shit happens to the best of people. You can lose your job, get made redundant, you can have a really difficult relationship, your partner might cheat on you, or whatever that is. Actually, that's not something personal about you, that's something that's going on with them. And I think you just got to get yourself in a place where you just got to accept that what's happened, and now move on, and what is the best thing for you, your child, and the other person, to just be able to move on. The longer you hold on to the bitterness, the longer it's going to take for you to move on and live your life how you want to live it. So just let it go.
Bless her, Sue. She's such a star and such wisdom. This is the trouble if you go on a course with me and you tell me that you're going through family separation. I will drag you outside into the car park and interview you. But what gems, and I do love to hear those positive stories. And if you've got a positive story to share, please get in touch with me at susie@startingovershow.com. And some of you may be watching that and thinking, well, you know, that's all right for her. He must be okay to be a dad, and my situation's different. So yes, of course, it can be different, and sometimes it's more challenging. But that if you hold those thoughts that she's just shared with us, you're going to have very different outcomes. And it is possible to co-parent even with very difficult people, but you do tend to need a bit of a strategy and a lot of boundaries. So I'm going to give us a roundup now before we come to the healing session at the end with the lovely Susan. First of all, we've got get your phones ready. We've got Debbie's QR code. Now, if you can't manage to get it together to do it right now, that's okay, because you will be able to rewind this afterwards and find these again. So for a short time, you get the free series of videos when you get this, which tells you more about theta healing and how to do the testing and the kinesiology, and it's all brilliant stuff. But if you sign up very soon indeed, you will also get a code, a voucher, to get one of the series of videos of your choice. For example, I think I should be trying the weight loss one myself, but there's, as you know from Debbie's talk, there was a whole range of them, and so take your pick and give them a go and let me know how you get on. Now, the divorce financial workshops, I'm plotting one at the moment. It's probably going to be in London, but it's going to be online. So if you're not in London, you'll still be able to come to it. But we are going to at least attempt to keep them geographic, because it is great when we are able to all meet up again in person. So if you get yourself, again, the QR codes there, get yourself on the list there, and then you will be the first to know as soon as we confirm the dates and the times for the next one. And you'll also get a special rate as well. Families need fathers. They support mothers as well as fathers, and this code will take you to the website. They have a brilliant helpline, especially if you're having difficulty getting contact with your children. They're particularly helpful with that, and also helping you self-represent if you are unfortunate enough to have to be dragged into court. Next week, in fact, I'm speaking to a dad from California who has his own podcast for parents, and he's going to be sharing some great information. Also, hopefully, give us the US version of Families Need Fathers and some of the charities there. So we'll be able to let you in on a few of those too. And as I said earlier, with the Divorce Masterclass, if you register for that now, you can get an entire section for free in the preview section. That's all about the prepping for the journey. So I really do recommend you give that a go if you're any of the earlier stages of the divorce, basically any time prior to the decree nisi. And finally, in preparation for Susan, who's coming on any minute now, we have a QR code for Susan. She has got a wonderful free download that you can access by holding your phone up to this. But now we're going to get into a calm state. Get yourself ready. I'm going to play the title card, and then I shall introduce you to Susan Calmiller. Hello, Susan, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Hi, thanks, Susie. Delighted to be here to share EFT tapping, more of which later. The aim is to help you to feel lighter, less stressed, more confident, more content, able to do what you need to do. VE, day to day, powerful emotions going on. Now, some emotions need managed, and this EFT, emotional freedom technique, tapping, is a technique which does achieve that. If you want to think of acupuncture without the needles, psychological acupuncture, tapping, we work on energy channels of the body. It's used now by a great number of professional people, doctors, nurses, psychotherapists, counsellors, all have that in their toolkit, and an awful lot of them use it. As a quick fix, EFT tapping is almost magical in how it can swap your mood around. And at a deeper level, if you think post-traumatic stress disorder, heavy emotional trauma, whatever your trauma is probably big to you, it's a great transformational tool through sessions. Now I'm going to right now show you the tapping points. And I don't want you to think this is a bit weird. Some of you might not know this, but just forget that we're all British and let's just go with it. So we would start, I'm going to take you through it. We start at the top of the head. It's a great big energy channel. And there are 3 points around the eye sockets where you tap ever so gently with your fingers. The corner of the eye, probably easier if I show you this way. Then the side of the eye, very gently without damaging yourself. And underneath your eye, all basically on the eye socket. Underneath the nose. Doesn't matter whether it's 2 or 3 fingers you use, don't worry about it. You don't need to get it pinpoint specific. And then just underneath the bottom lip, the crease of the chin, tap very gently. And the last one I'm going to do is the collarbone point. There is another one under the arm, which is very good. I may forget and go into that. But the collarbone, now the collarbone is the base of the collarbone, and if you gently press, at some point you might find a point that's quite sensitive. That's an excellent point to tap. And to start with, please gently tap the karate point in your hand. I'm going to do a routine. We repeat something 3 times, and then we're going to tap through the points and you'll repeat what I say. You can add in your own word, because at times I'll give you an opportunity I'll ask you where you feel it. I'll not give you long, I'll say, where do you feel it? I'll ask you to give it a number, between 0 and 10. 10's very high. My aim is to get you to reduce the number before we're finished. And I forgot to put on my phone. I need to time myself, so I better take about 3 minutes off this. When I do this, I would like you to just repeat after me. So even though I can feel stressed at times, I love and accept myself as best I can today. You see, we start with a negative and bring in a positive. Even though I can feel stressed and angry, what's your other word? Anger, disappointment, helplessness, hopelessness, sadness, grief. So even though I feel stressed and angry, I love and accept myself as best I can today. And the third time, and you can change hands, just play along with it. Even though I can feel stressed and angry and wonder how I'm going to get through the day. However, I love and accept myself as best I can today. Go to the top of the head. You don't need to repeat the points. Repeat what I say. Top of the head, feeling stressed. Corner of the eye. I can certainly feel stressed. Side of the eye, socket. I can feel stressed and angry. Talk over me if it's not angry. Underneath the eye on the socket, nice and gently. Careful not to hurt yourself. I can feel stressed and angry, and I don't like it. Underneath the nose, it makes me feel very uneasy. crease of the chin. Give it a number between 0 and 10. I want you to imagine for a moment how angry you might be feeling sometimes. How angry can you get? Step into it for a second. Give it a number. This number, what anger or frustration? Collarbone, feeling stressed and angry. Back up to the top. At your head. Feeling unsettled. Corner of the eye. Feeling unsettled. I've got things to do. This gets in the way. Doesn't feel good. Just repeat, please. I really don't like feeling like this. Feelings of anger. Imagine where you're feeling it in your body. The more you can feel it in your body, have a number for it, the more personalised it is. So, feeling it in my body where? Chin point. This isn't doing me any good, this anger, this stress. I'm going to do something about it. Choosing to release some of this anger. Corner of the eye. Choosing to release some of this anger. There's a thought. It's in my power. Choosing to feel calmer. Choosing to release some of this anger. Choosing to release all of this anger. It's your choice. You can clear it. Why hang on to it? My trainer taught me that. Best bit of advice he gave me. He said, why are you hanging on to it? I thought, why am I hanging on to it? Collarbone. Releasing the stress. Feeling brighter. Breathe it in. Feel a sense of feeling brighter. Feel more confident to get on with the day. Oh, that feels much better. Next point, bottom of the eye. See what your number is now. Underneath the nose. Feeling ready to get on with my day. Underneath the chin. Life's got a few problems going on at the moment. I feel more able to deal with everything. Now go back to the karate point. Take 2 or 3 big deep breaths while I'm finishing off here. It's within our control with tapping to allow ourselves to feel better. As a quick fix, this is pretty good. Give it a go, practice again. Go back to the beginning. If you like it and you want to have another go at it, if you think this has got potential, give it another go. I have lots of recording videos to do with anger, frustration, helplessness, hopelessness, sadness. I'll be putting a link on the website, on Susie's site. I hope this has left you in a quieter place, ready to enjoy the rest of Friday night. Thank you very much, Lee.
Thank you so much, Susan. It's a very powerful tool. I believe many professional therapists, which Susan is a professional counsellor as well, use it. It's almost mainstream. It's used by so many people now. So if you've never come across it, it's not as odd as it may seem. And you soon get used to it with the tapping. And it does seem to have very immediate effects. So give it a go. And as I said, access, go rewind. get the QR code from Susan's slide and make the most of her free downloads and her videos. So just to round off now, before we leave, it is in the UK, it's VE Day today, and I just wanted to share a little thought about what it means to have a victory. Often in divorce cases, people talk about winning and losing, and of course we all know that just getting a bigger financial settlement may mean spending a vast amount of money to get it, which makes it not such quite a good win after all. But more importantly, the toll on your personal health and psychological health and that of your children can make it not much of a win at all. And I'm often, when I'm working with people, we're talking about how not to compromise. When I wave the white flag, that's not about giving in. It's about going, let's find a different way to deal with this. So peace is created. Peace doesn't happen because one side dominates, because that kind of peace never lasts very long. It happens when both sides start looking for a better solution. So I'd like to leave you with that thought. And as we all know, in the war of divorce, in the battlefield of family separation, always make sure that you keep peace as your weapon of choice. See you next Friday.